Yeah, hi, peace, and welcome to Billiculous Part 2, my response to Bill Maher's ridiculous movie, Religulous. You see, it's not that Bill Maher doesn't care, he just doesn't get it. His understanding of the Adam and Eve story shows pure ignorance once again. It doesn't have to be either creation or evolution. How about Syad evolution? I mean, I have not seen it written in any scripture that, God made man like, boop, there he is, in one earthly second. He originated us from clay, but God knows best. We always read, in old scripture that man, was made from clay. Now, the Quran, as we see right here, takes this even a step further. We see in the Quran, it says that God made man from a type of clay that gives forth sound. And that's smectite clay. And this is due to the photoacoustic property of certain materials like this clay, the quartz crystals in it make it give off sound, but we'll talk about that more extensively later. Now, the New Scientist magazine actually has an article that verifies this highlight. Here we see in their 2003 October edition that scientists have studied and determined that organisms likely originated from this smectite clay, montmorillonite clay, a clay which by virtue of its crystal quartz properties gives off sound. So religion led the way and science followed behind. Now let's look at when this photoacoustic phenomenon was discovered. As we see here, Alexander Graham Bell only discovered this photoacoustic property of certain materials in the year 1880. Alright, you can always see this on againstscience.com. In the year 1880, the ability of certain materials to give forth sound when hit by a light. I repeat, it's not like Bill Maher doesn't care, he just doesn't get it. If he did, he would know these facts. Now, next, let's consider the origin of man. Scientists in the Darwinistic racist era claim that man originated from, different parts of the earth, the Europeans from some mountains in Russia, the black man from Africa, and so on. Now, this ignorant multi-origin hypothesis was only used to promote racism. Religion insisted and maintained that man originated in the Middle East. We see right here in Africa, because the Middle East is part of this block right here. This is a map of Earth like millions of years ago. This is called Pangaea, before the continental drift and separation of the different land masses. Now, after years of wasted Darwin racist research and teachings, science only recently discovered, not too many years ago, and agreed with religion that man came from an Eve, single ancestor, and also that the earliest that this was from an area right here in Ethiopia, which is just in the same area we're talking about. Now, you can read more about this in a great book. It's Mapping the Human Genome by Steve Olson. So we see that science, after thousands of years, is finally coming to agree with religion. Simple facts that it's so sad that that movie was really pathetic. Now, actually, just to correct some things, religion is because I'm always opposing the two. Religion is science. It's actually the father of science and encompasses all sciences: economics, social, political, etc. Next, let's look at the creation of Eve from Adam's rib issue. You see, this, to God knows best, is simply cloning. You see, God did and described thousands of years ago what still eludes science till today. They still cannot clone man. The Eve story is a simple story of cloning man. The scientific theory of man and woman, co-evolving, and being able to reproduce without having hybrid sterility, raises questions. Rather, this theory makes more sense, because to clone, all you have to do is just get stem cells and one of the best sources of stem cells is the rib. Now you don't add nothing to it. Man's chromosomes, or X and Y, you take an X, you just replicate it, or take two X's from the man, put it in the right medium, and clone a perfectly compatible woman from him. And I am sure that scientific evidence will show this, that we originated from one and not from two ancestors. This is simply amazing. The cloning story could have been a blueprint for scientific research thousands of years before they started developing cloning technology. Okay, now let's look at the 6-day creation debacle. Bill is hopelessly ignorant right here too, but I must confess, many religionists share the same ignorance. You see, God's days, or rather God's periods, written as days in the Bible, are, and Quran and other holy books, are thousands of earth years. It's retarded to assume that it's earth days that were referenced, because God is describing the creation of the universe. Earth days depend on the sun being created and the earth revolving around it. We are talking about celestial days here. This is actually a no-brainer. We can easily verify this fact right here on this same website, where the Quran describes a day, excuse me, God's day as equivalent to 50,000 of our years or more. This is the Quranic reference. So it's I don't know. The problem right here is ignorance, misinformation and misrepresentation of the things we know, and not religion itself. We can only hold ourselves responsible for our ignorance. It's like when scientists deliberated, global warming. Actually we know that was political, but you have some saying yes, some saying no. It's not that science is faulty or we should, attack science. It's our application of science and our ignorance in its application that's at fault, not science itself. And I don't know, Bill simply, it's not like he doesn't care, he just doesn't get it. Okay, so that's it for this. Let's wrap it up with some references, because I saw some comment asking for that, of some things I said in part 1. Okay, so on the phenomenal advantage of circumcision prescribed by religion, we see here on the BBC website that HIV reduces circumcision reduces HIV infection by about 60%, which is therapeutic excellence. You can see the same results here on MSNBC. All these references you can find on againscience.com. It reduces HIV infection by 60%. There would be absolutely no epidemic today. And then here you have the CDC website, MMR, Mortality and Morbidity Weekly Report, September 12, 2008. And for the year 2006, we see that the results indicated that in 2006, of new HIV infections among males, 72% were in MSM. And what's MSM? That's males that have sex with males. So from these data that we have seen, the phenomenal advantage of circumcision and then the risk rate in MSM, it's clear to see that two teachings of religion, the prescription of circumcision and the abstinence from anal sex, had these two guidelines been adopted years ago, the world would absolutely not have an HIV epidemic today as we do have it. Okay, so that wraps this up. Watch out for part 3, much more tasty, informative material.